Hey everybody, welcome into the Irish NFL show. Michael and Colin here. Brian joining us in a bit. A couple of games tomorrow night, Saturday night in the NFL, week 15 of the NFL season. We're delighted to kick off the show, joined by a special guest. Delighted to be joined by Kerry GEA and also recent PwC All-Star last week. Congratulations on that. Paudie Clifford. Paudie, a warm welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, lads. Looking forward to getting going.
Absolutely, and we're looking forward to chatting to you about the NFL and everything else around that there. Obviously, congratulations on the All-Star last week as well. And it's been a busy year for you lads. We got a Cork man, a Kerry man, and a Tyrone man here. We were saying off camera as well, Paudie. I think you're the first man from the kingdom on this show as well.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. We have to get a few more of them on now after.
Paudie, you were telling us, I suppose, off camera that you're a Steelers fan, but can you talk to us a little bit about how you got into the NFL? When was it that you first came across it? I suppose it's always interesting to hear people from Ireland, how they actually got into the sport.
So there wasn't an actual moment that I can remember that I said to myself, geez, I love the NFL or anything like that, but I just remember, as far as I can remember back, would have been when the Steelers were obviously competing every year and getting to Super Bowls. There was obviously the time when Jerome Bettis fumbled, and then we still won, and then won the Super Bowl, obviously. Then after that, I just remember watching Super Bowls with my mom. I would have been about 10 or 11, so she didn't want to leave me up on my own. So she watched with me. I tried to explain the rules. She hasn't got them yet, but she enjoyed it anyway. She enjoyed the roaring at the screen. But what got me supporting the Steelers probably was the players, and obviously that they were competing every year. But I loved Palomalu, Harrison, obviously Big Ben, Santonio Holmes, them kind of players. I've always kind of interested in safeties for some reason, so I love Palomalu.
Absolutely, and the Steelers played in Croke Park in 1997, a bit before my time, Paudie, and a bit before your time as well. Not Colin, though, but that's a different conversation for a different show. I'm presuming David doesn't have an interest.
I have the terrible towel from that game somewhere, Michael.
Is there anybody else, Paudie, in the family that likes the Steelers? I mean, I'm presuming, does David watch Red Zone with you, or is it just yourself that enjoys it? Because for me, I'm the only one in my family that watches it.
No, I'm the only one. David has a bit of an interest, but no, he wouldn't watch much of it, really. I'm the only one, yeah.
I suppose in terms then of the Steelers this season and how things have gone. I mean, Mike Tomlin, who's never had a losing season in his time with the Steelers, and it's definitely been somewhat of an up and down year. But your own thoughts on it, Paudie?
Very up and down. I suppose we wouldn't have been expecting too much at the start of the year. We've obviously basically a whole new offensive line. We've Big Ben. Ben is obviously on his last legs, and he has some decent games, but some shocking games. We've had a lot of injuries. Obviously, we're very light in cornerback as it is, and then with losing Hayden the last few weeks, obviously has been a killer. Yeah, obviously you've all them things, and the most disappointing thing then is you think the defense would be kind of make you up for the offense, and it's nearly the offense playing better. The run defense is just shocking. I can't really explain why, but that's probably the most disappointing thing of all is the run defense. And I suppose for the future then, things aren't totally negative for the future because you've got obviously Najee Harris, Pat Freiermuth, so they'll be there for a long time. TJ Watt, a new QB is needed, of course, and the O-line obviously needs addressing. I was actually looking at a tweet this morning from someone said it, but it was Jerome Bettis that said it. We haven't actually drafted anyone. We've drafted no one in the first or second round, no offensive line player in the first or second round for the last 8 years, which is surprising. You'd be surprised to hear that. That's too long, really. for such an important position.
Absolutely. And you've mentioned so many important things there. And the thing that stands out for me, Paudie, is this Steelers team. While they do have issues this year, you're talking about that youth and that young talent. And it's really positive there for the future for them. But, if you were the GM in Pittsburgh, without naming names, or if you want to go, feel free to go on ahead. Big Ben, let's say Big Ben walks away in a couple of months after maybe a playoff run or a Super Bowl run, or who knows what's going to happen. But he walks away. As a fan, would you rather have somebody come in, maybe like Aaron Rodgers, experienced, or would you look at that team and then maybe try and build someone around a young quarterback in the draft? Because it seems this year there's not that much there, and in the draft coming in, and like guys, like I'm not sure about you lads, but Mason Rudolph, Paudie, I'm not sure if he's going to do that next year for me.
I'm afraid not. No. I like college football as well. I've been watching a lot of it. Kenny Pickett looks good, but what I would do is, I know it's not really the Steelers' way, but we need to change it up if we want to challenge again. I would go with a free agent, hopefully Wilson or Rodgers, but that'll be an ideal scenario, because we need to draft an offensive lineman in the first round or second round, and we need cornerback help as well. So I'd go free agency. As you said, the quarterback selection isn't as good, and Pickett could be gone as well before the Steelers pick. So I'd go as free agent, and then help the O-line and the secondary with the first two picks.
It's interesting, I suppose, talking about Pickett, because a lot of the talk around him is the hand size and whether that's something that might see his stock drop. Could you, I mean, when you're getting into that level of intricacy, Paudie, could you ever imagine something like that coming into the GA, where lads are saying, "Oh, I don't know if he'll be good enough to take the step up to championship, because his shoe size is only he's only a size 8 or a size 9, and really, a lad playing cornerback would need to be an 11 or 12."
Yeah, it's crazy to think about it. But I suppose the one point that they have is that the college ball is slightly smaller, isn't it, than the NFL ball? So maybe there's a bit of adjusting, and maybe they feel that obviously they do feel that a bigger hand is better. But no, that won't be a problem in football anyway. There's a lot more problems to worry about.
I'm looking forward to seeing the college games in Dublin next year, I think in August. Hopefully we'll all get to that, lads. But for me, Paudie, like you were saying off camera to us that you hadn't had the opportunity yet to go to maybe a game in London, or, what's breaking this week. There should hopefully be a game in Germany next year. But you've been to a couple of games, or 2 or 3 games in America. How did you find that experience?
Great experience. Obviously, as I said, they were preseason games, so everything about them was great, but one of them was the Saints against the Jets, and Drew Brees played the first series with Michael Thomas, got a touchdown, and didn't see him again then for the rest of the match. So that's kind of the way it goes in preseason.
Yeah, they play kind of maybe one series or 2 max, definitely in preseason. But you were saying that you watch Red Zone, when the Steelers games aren't on. Just wondering, is there anything that's kind of caught your eye outside of the Steelers in the league this year in terms of players or teams who've impressed you?
There's a few things. I suppose how Belichick has evolved, and has obviously, it looks like a team that are going to challenge again. Brady's still doing it at the top level. To be fair, he has a lot of pieces around him. He's a good offensive line. It's probably not too difficult for him. Probably even easier than some of his seasons in New England. Then you've Rodgers, obviously, still playing at a very high level. Micah Parsons, a rookie. Obviously, a very highly touted rookie, 11th pick in the draft. So not a massive surprise, but it is that I think he's second favourite for Defensive Player of the Year, which is someone going as a rookie when you're alongside the likes of obviously Miles Garrett, TJ Watt, and with the likes of Donald around. And then I suppose Herbert. Herbert is just a generational talent. Like, his throw the last day, I don't even know how long it was, but crazy the talent that Herbert has. And amazing that he was only picked sixth. Even though I was always a big fan of Tua with Alabama. Tua is an unbelievably accurate passer, but clearly not the potential of Herbert. But I've really enjoyed the season. Obviously, not really the way the Steelers season have went, but it's been a very enjoyable season, and it's only getting better.
Absolutely, and it's hard to believe we're 15 weeks in, and I'm nearly certain, and I'm sure Colin will correct me if I'm wrong here, Paudie. We asked Dean Rock this last year when he came on, Paudie. Obviously, last year, and not just for the GA but for the NFL as well, playing mostly in empty stadiums. Now, look, for you, like playing in an empty stadium and then maybe going back to, for example, like the semi-final there when they had, was it 30 or 45 Park? The atmosphere that day was fantastic across the board. Did you find, like, there's obviously going to be a massive difference, but how did you find maybe playing with no crowds and then going back to crowds? Because in the NFL this year, Paudie, I'm sure you've seen it. I'm not sure how up we are in touchdowns, but the action for me is far better this year than it was last year. It almost seemed produced last year because all you had was maybe the cutouts in the crowd and stuff.
Yeah, you've got more excitement. You've got more probably mistakes. There's probably more pressure, and then the big thing, and the exact same with the NFL. You can hear each other when you're trying to talk to each other when the crowd is full. There's no point even roaring across. You're not going to hear each other. So that's probably, similar in both the NFL and football, that communication is key, and it just makes it basically a lot easier when there's no fans, and makes it impossible when there is fans.
So, Paudie, we're kind of coming in towards the business end of the season now. Obviously, the playoff race is really heating up, and in terms of the Saturday games, two really big games. I know at the time of recording, we're still waiting to see just how things will play out with the Browns. But what are your thoughts on the games in terms of the Browns Raiders and Colts Patriots?
The Raiders and Browns game. The Raiders, I suppose, have been unlucky. I suppose this year, really, they've lost John Gruden. Ruggs obviously had that thing happen, and Waller's been out the last few weeks, so they've been unlucky. But they wouldn't be really. They're kind of a nothing team anyway. Raiders fans wouldn't like to hear me say that, but they're kind of a team going nowhere. Derek Carr is probably not the franchise QB either, and playing a Browns team, the Browns promised a lot before the season started, but again, Baker's probably not the guy, and there's no point talking about Baker because he has COVID anyway. So I suppose the Browns seem to be riddled with COVID, so I suppose you'd go with the Raiders, but that'd be a tentative pick because the Browns have COVID.
Have you any thoughts on the Patriots game as well? The Patriots Colts. That's a late game on Saturday, or have you already covered that? That's probably my head going.
No.
I'll just edit that out.
A very, very interesting game. Probably one of the most interesting games yet this season, because the Colts actually are playing better than a 7-6 team. They've Jonathan Taylor. Wentz is playing decent. They have a good defense. It's kind of strange that they are 7-6, but 7-6. But I suppose they've lost a lot of one-score games to good teams, so that's probably why. And then the Patriots, obviously, as we've kind of touched on them already, the Patriots are Belichick has evolved, and even the last day, like the way he did it when it was windy, only Mac Jones had only 3 throws, like the way he can do that and still win a game. I think that the Patriots are obviously they're going to still run, because the Colts rush defense has actually been a bit leakier than usual in the last few weeks. So I think the Patriots are going to still try and run at them. The Colts are going to be going out to stop that. And on the other side, then it's going to be similar. They're going to be handing it off to Jonathan Taylor, and Belichick is going to be thinking all week how he's going to stop that. So I'm going to say that Belichick is going to beat Frank Reich. I'm not with the players are similar standard, but Belichick is going to beat Frank Reich.
It'll certainly be a fascinating game. I'm really interested to see what Belichick will scheme up to stop Jonathan Taylor, who has been phenomenal and just the form player, I think, in the league. When you look a bit further ahead, Paudie, in terms of what do you think might, and look, there's an awfully long way to go, and the COVID situation, but what do you think might play out in terms of who's headed to the Super Bowl?
That's a tough one. The NFC is very tough to call. I'd probably say the Packers. That's tough to call, but like if Devontae Adams or someone got COVID, then that's basically their chance gone. But Rodgers and Adams have some partnership going. I'll say the Packers, yeah. And in the AFC, then I'll go with the Chiefs. The Chiefs have kind of got it together. Their defense has been a lot better. And Mahomes, when it comes down to, you'd be thinking he is going to perform. So maybe Chiefs, Packers.
That would be the Hollywood Super Bowl in LA. I think the thing this year as well, Paudie, is like we can't call the AFC. For all you know, the Steelers could go on a bit of a run here now and see what happens. I think Colin might get your pick for the Titans Steelers game on Sunday in a second. But talking about the Super Bowl there, the one thing that stands out with the NFL is after the Super Bowl, if you're playing in that game or playing and you're out of the playoffs in January, you've got a 7 or 8 month off season. Granted, of course, you're going to train and stuff, but could you actually imagine getting to September in the GA and then not playing to maybe April next year? I mean, you obviously got club and stuff, but for those NFL lads, that's it. There's no other, competitive game for such a long time.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about it. I always think about that, all right? Like, they're obviously in unbelievable shape. That's probably why. You have 6 months to lift and obviously do all that kind of stuff, whereas we just don't have that time. Like, we've a few months, maybe a month before the season starts, and then you're into training and matches, and you just can't risk injury by lifting too much during the week. So it's a crazy off season, and they obviously use it well. They probably take the few months off, but they use it well. They come back in serious shape.
And Paudie, in terms of that game on Sunday where the Steelers taking on the Titans, the Titans they've been kind of a strange team this year in terms of they lose to the Jets, they lose to the Texans, they really get it handed to them by the Patriots, and then they obviously kind of didn't even have to get out of second gear to beat the Jags last weekend. But do you think the Steelers at home with their back against the wall, in essence, can get anything out of Sunday's game?
Yeah, like I suppose if you look at the Titans, they're 9-4, isn't it? And like if you look at them as 9-4 and the Colts and 7-6, it's a strange one. But I wouldn't be fearing the Titans without Derrick Henry. No way would I be. But you don't know what Steelers are going to show up. If the Steelers play well, I think we'll win that game.
Yeah, I think that game is in Tennessee as well, which would be interesting. But this is the thing about you're spot on. That Tennessee team can play lights out one week. Who knows next week? They only scored 20 against Jacksonville last week, and I mean, boys, Jacksonville. I mean, I'm not even going into that there. But Paudie, this was great crack. And I was saying off camera beforehand, I've never been down to Kerry before, and I really regret that. So we're going to try and get these boys and myself. We'll try and get down to maybe Tralee to do an Irish NFL show at some point, maybe in the off season. But I want to thank you for coming on, Paudie. Obviously, wish you the best with Fossa, with Kerry next season as well. I don't want to be playing Kerry next year. I think everyone's out to get Tyrone next year. So the very, very, very best next season. Enjoy the last few weeks of the season as well, and you're welcome on anytime, Paudie.
Thanks very much, lads. Thanks for having me. I enjoyed it.
That was Paudie Clifford, Kerry GA footballer, recent All-Star as well. Thanks a million for Paudie coming on. Brian, you missed Paudie. Great to have him on the show and great to hear. I think he was our first guest on from the Kingdom.
Yeah, sorry, unfortunately I couldn't be available for that one. Yeah, so it looked very insightful. All right, it's great to see a Steelers fan giving his tuppence worth on this mad season that is the NFL, which in the week that it is, it's only got even matter with the amount of players that are ruled out for this weekend, in particular the game, which we're going to discuss now in a second.
Absolutely, Colin. It's been a bit of a mad week, and this has been pre-recorded. I'm for the States in the morning. Please God, neff it. But we'll see what happens in terms of that. There, like obviously, Colin, a big disclaimer here: will the Browns game go ahead? We don't know. So if anybody is watching this, Colin, yes, please take it with a pinch of salt.
Yeah, so as we record this, just to make clear, this is the Wednesday, and right now, 36 players went on the COVID list on Monday, 29 players went on the COVID list on Tuesday, and as of recording on Wednesday night, 31 players have gone on the COVID list. So what will tomorrow bring? What will Friday bring? Who knows? But it is quite something when you are looking at near enough 100 players going on to the COVID list in the first 3 days of the week. Said it before, but Tom Brady did say COVID would have a bigger impact this year than it did last year. So it is proving. What will it mean for this week? What will it mean for the playoffs? This could have all sorts of mad implications.
Absolutely. And the funny thing is, I can't wait, Brian, to see our picks this week because they're hilarious half the time, but with COVID involved as well, I mean, it's anything goes, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's going to be one of those situations, even leading up to 6 o'clock our time Sunday evening when the games are starting, you could find players getting ruled out in the afternoon. It's strangely enough, the game on Monday night between the Cardinals and the Rams, because of the number of players who tested positive on Tuesday morning, they're essentially saying that some of those players, including Odell Beckham, would have played the games positive, but it only showed up on Tuesday morning in terms of the testing. So I'd imagine we'll have some scenarios right up until kickoff the weekend where we're basing our picks on games and players that look like they're going to play, only to find out at the 11th hour if they're ruled out. So it's going to be one of those very interesting weekends, and a week where the NFL have been having their togetherness in terms of meeting, deciding on the off-season plan for in terms of the cap, and obviously they've now confirmed, which we all knew anyway, which was that Vegas has a Super Bowl in 2024. When they would have been looking ahead to seasons to come, unfortunately they're back in the COVID world, and now we ask the question: will every game get played on time before the end of the season? I'm not convinced now. I'm not convinced that's going to be the case.
Well, let's see. Obviously, as well, they announced obviously various countries for marketing reasons, and it's been a busy week. And I think as a fan and as somebody on this here, it's annoying to be back in the situation again. But that's the way it is, and we have to go with it. But it's going to be a bit of crack for the picks here. First game, 9:30 Ireland time. I'm going to miss this game, I think. But the Browns against the Raiders. You said it there, Brian, a second ago. Raiders hosting the Super Bowl in 2024. So Brian will be booking in at the MGM Grand.
Absolutely. A return to my old hunt.
Me as well. I've been 4 times. I'm looking forward to 2024, baby. Brown 7-6 column, Raiders 6-7. I'm not even going to start because it's pre-recorded talking about the COVID outs. I mean, Ian Rappaport was talking about potentially players that were asymptomatic may be allowed back into this game if they've tested positive. We don't know what the situation is, but as of right now, there's multiple players out. Baker Mayfield's tested positive. Head coach for the Browns is out, and for me personally, Colin, I'm not sure about you. Just your thoughts. This is a difficult game for Cleveland.
Yeah, 14 players in the Browns currently, at the time of recording, on the COVID list. Yes, the league are talking about asymptomatic players and potentially changing that. So it's a bit like, we talked about the other night, for Formula One kind of making up the rules as they go along. And the NFL,
no, Mikey, no.
I think the NFL are potentially realizing that you don't want a quarterback who's asymptomatic sitting on the sidelines. It's this is like a big game for both of these teams, because for both of them, they've had really tough outings over the past few weeks. The Raiders have been a circus. There's no other way to put it. If it wasn't for Urban Meyer and all of every single day, there's that famous saying about, like, there's a main character on Twitter every day and the aim is not to be it. Well, Urban Meyer is the main character in the NFL, it seems, almost every day this season. Other than that, the Raiders, it would have been the focus on them, but they now get the opportunity against what's likely to be a very depleted Browns side to right the wrongs of the past couple of weeks, I suppose. Although I did see that our friend D Orlando was tweeting earlier today at saying that it's the Raiders. Case Keenum will throw for 450 yards and the ghost of Jim Brown, who's still very much alive, and Leroy Kelly will run for another 250. It's the Raiders, it's the Browns. Both of these teams over the years have, found ways to lose games, and they're long-suffering franchise fans of both are really good, but their franchises have left them down. You'd have to say, ordinarily, you'd look at it and you'd say Kevin Stefanski and that Browns team and defense should be able to do it. But with 14 players out, you'd have to go with the Raiders in this one. If this was a normal game, I would be going with the Browns. And I know that they managed to do a number on the Broncos, even though they were depleted earlier in the year. But I think with 14 players out, with potentially more players to go who could end up on the list, I'm going to go Raiders. It's got a huge asterisk next to it, but for me, at the time of recording, they seem the most likely winners. They've got Hunter Renfrow, so that's what I'm basing it off.
Fantasy God. And talking about fantasy, Brian, before we go to your pick, a big week for you in fantasy. Who are you playing this week?
I know. I was out on Monday. I said you before the game was even playing.
I just realized, yeah, I'm so sorry. If only Brian Colum had have done talking for the team the weekend.
Huh? Oh, no, he's sacked. He's not.
Disgrace.
He's gone. He's off the phone book. He's done. I asked for one favor and he lets me down.
140 points. If I had been playing anyone else, I'd have won the game.
I don't think I scored 120 points all season, and I did in my game this weekend. I still managed to lose by 4 points. Anyway, coming back to this game. As
Elton said, though, Brian, as Elton John said, I'm still standing. Will the Browns still be standing on Saturday night?
I don't believe so, but I'll be brutally honest, even leading up to this game, despite the chaos of the Raiders in the past week, I still felt this game would be close enough, and I'd put that down more so to the Browns' frailties on offense, because you know how I feel about Baker Mayfield, and all things equal, if he was playing in the game, I'm still not convinced that this offense would do a lot against what is an average to poor Raiders defense. And we saw, as Columns alluded to, they got away with it to a certain extent last week, and the fact that the Ravens came back at them, they just about held on, but they didn't score in the second half, I don't believe, and the Ravens were allowed to come back with a backup quarterback. So this obviously then is thrown on the head by the fact that they've got numerous players out, like as Colin said, 14, potentially could be more by the time the game is played. There was a game during the season in which the Browns probably surprised people, and that was against the Broncos, in which they won on the Thursday night game, where a lot of people felt, and that was down to Norman injuries, the fact that they would not win that game and the Broncos win because of the number of injuries, and they surprised us. Ernest Johnson had a big game. But I can't say here, in fact, I think the Raiders they're kind of fortunate in a way that they're landing on this situation, because it looked like their season was unraveling, but they might give themselves a squeak of a chance now with a wild card if they were to pull off this win. And for the division itself, in terms of the North, puts everybody back in the picture, really, doesn't it? Because the Ravens play the Packers the weekend, the Steelers play the Titans, and a lot of them felt that the Browns had a better opportunity this weekend to probably push on. But for me, it's going to be a Raiders win.
I'm taking the Browns. I think the Browns are going to overhaul the Raiders in a COVID classic. No, I'm not. The Raiders are going to win this game. Even if the NFL changes the COVID protocols, I can't see how they're going to beat this Ravens team. Ravens? Wow. I need to stop editing so late, boys. I can't see how they're going to stop this Raiders team. The reality is Derek Carr, Hunter Renfrow will turn it on in Cleveland. Baker Mayfield's not going to play. Case Keenum? Does Case Keenum excite me? Absolutely not. The problem with this, I'm sitting here for the last 6 minutes, is you have covered it. I just can't see how the Browns are going to win this game. I'm taking the Raiders. I'm taking the Raiders comfortably. And it's a pity because I know you've got a point, Brian, here, but the NFL have bigged this doubleheader up for weeks. We got the press release maybe week 8, week 9, Saturday doubleheader, December the 18th weekend, and this COVID situation looks like it might ruin it. Yeah,
well, that's where I was going to go with my point, because a lot of people have suggested today the NFL aren't moving it because they have plugged this weekend for quite a period of time in terms of 2 big games, and it leads on to a really good game later in the night. But the fact is, they've come out today and kind of squashed those rumors to say, look, if we were to move it to Monday, Tuesday, it's not going to do much of a difference because players will still be in protocol. And then obviously, what's the impact then in terms of other players potentially picking up and they end up out of the game? So essentially, they're saying they're better off getting the game played sooner rather than later, and accepting the fact that quite a number of players will not be able to play in the game.
Colin, Tuesday, 5 p.m. Eastern. Sounds nice. You up for
that? Well, I was really looking forward to 9:30 on a Saturday. Like that's ideal. I'd be on for that. I love this time of year where we get football on, more nights, spreads it out, and it means you can actually kind of watch the game in full. So, but it looks like the NFL are sticking to their guns. Billionaires tend to do what billionaires want to do. The owners' meeting, I think, is happening this week as well. It'll be interesting to see what, if anything, comes out of that. But I reckon they will endeavor to do everything in their power to try to keep the show on the road as much as they can. They probably gave themselves more wiggle room last year to be able to deal with it. They really didn't so much this year. And as a result, they're probably just going to have to plow ahead. Hopefully that won't mean that, we're going to kind of see the kind of junior B versions of NFL franchises. That would be the concern. But look, a player equally can test out of the COVID list. That Baker Mayfield could still potentially make it if he was to have 2 negative tests. So you don't know, and that's what's going to make it so difficult. As Brian is saying, we could be sitting there and it could be in the run up to kickoff a few hours beforehand. Somebody either comes off the list or comes on the list. We saw it with the Rams the other night. Jalen Ramsey went on the list not long before the game. The Rams still got the win. So that's what makes it just so unpredictable. How do you game plan, right? Right now, both of these teams are making a plan. I am sure the Raiders are probably saying, chances are Mayfield is out. We're going to try and game plan for Case Keenum, but you can't know for sure. And that's what, makes it even more unpredictable than usual.
I think the difficulty, sorry, Michael, I think the difficulty the league also have to, which I bear in mind, is last year was kind of a one size fits all. Either you're in or you're out, and they could potentially move games on that basis. There's so many protocols in place, which Colin said there, you could have players coming off the COVID list on Saturday. So there's so many different variations of who's in, when they're in, if they're out for a particular time, they could be back on Saturday. How do you decide if a game should be moved on that basis? There's too many things, there's too many plates being thrown in the air in that situation.
Well, Mark, who's on a bye week, is going with, drum roll, even though it's been up on the screen for the last 5 minutes, the Raiders. That's the first game over. The late game, or in my case, the early game for me, because I'll be on the East Coast. If anybody is at the game on Sunday in Baltimore, give me a shout. It's my fault Lamar Jackson went down. I couldn't tweet about it. And quite frankly, because this is pre-recorded, will I even get into the USA at the minute with Neffets and with the lads? Who knows what's going on? So we'll see the crack and we'll come back to that. But planning to be there on Sunday. Hopefully Lamar's playing as well, day to day as it stands. The second game, and I was really, boys, to be honest, I haven't told you this. I was trying to get to this game, somehow trying to get a flight. This is a hell of a game. Colts, Patriots, in Indy, in Lucas Oil Stadium. huge challenge for both teams. Colin, who have you got in this game?
I've seen so it's said that this is the Colts' biggest home game in 6 years. Whether you want to go that far or not, I don't know, but I do think this has had, because who knows, with COVID, the potential to be one of the games of the season. It's a really fascinating matchup. I mean, we talked with Paudie, and he, even as a Steelers fan, was saying that the Colts look much better than a 7-6 team. And some of the games they've lost have kind of been head scratchers. Overall, you'd have to say Carson Wentz has been decent this year in comparison to the Carson Wentz you saw last year, who couldn't stop throwing interceptions, who took sacks all the time. Frank Reich has worked his magic there. They are going up against a Patriots team coming off a bye, an opportunity to get healthy. And I think the chess match between Frank Reich and Bill Belichick will be fascinating. I have said for the last few weeks, Jonathan Taylor is my front runner for MVP up to this point, but there's still lots of football to be played. But this is going to be the kind of make or break game in many ways for him, right? Because he's going up against the Patriots defense that is so strong, and in a coach in Bill Belichick who's undoubtedly going to game plan for Jonathan Taylor. So that's what I'm really looking forward to in this one, is to see what Bill Belichick and the Patriots do, and the manner in which the Patriots look to attack that Colts team as well, because nobody game plans in the way that Bill Belichick does. He went into a storm in Buffalo, and he said, I'm not going to throw it, just going to run the ball, and you're going to have to stop me. And the Bills couldn't do that. So Bill Belichick just goes game to game and is willing to change his game plan. He just cares about winning. He doesn't care whether that's throwing it 50 times or throwing it 3 times. So I think this will be a fantastic game. I think I can make, again, it's one of those ones where I can make a case for the Colts to win this. I can make a case for the Patriots to win this. Right now, at the time of recording, I'm going to go with the Patriots, but I could absolutely see how the Colts win it. I could, if we were recording this tomorrow, I'd probably lean Colts, and we could do it again on Friday night with Patriots, and I'll sit there Saturday afternoon and into the evening going, no, it's going to be the Colts. It's going to be the Colts. I should have gone with the Colts, but right now I'm going Patriots.
When this game got flexed into Saturday night, I think we all looked at it and went, even as a neutral, people who don't like the Patriots, who don't like the Colts, everyone and looked at the season and said, this should be a classic. It should be a cracking game. It should be a lot better than what we experienced on that Monday night when the Patriots last played against the Bills. And for me, it's a very interesting to see how Mac Jones goes in this game, because whilst we've touched on the fact that he's played in a system all year that's suited him, and they've got the best out of him, and obviously they've enforced that the defense has progressed at the right time. Let's not forget, Mark said it about 5 weeks ago that they may only win 9 games this season. Well, they've already got their 9 wins. It looks like they're going to win a few more. But this Coles offense with Taylor, but they've also got some great players. You touched on Wentz having a good season. He's got players like Pittman in the second year, T.Y. Hilton, Pascal Doyle has been impactful recently. Ali Cox, tight end. They've got players there that can put up 28, 30 points, even on the best of defenses. We saw it when they played the Titans. And I feel it's going to be a higher score than people think. I think the Colts will put up points. And then for me, it's about whether Mac Jones can keep up. And in this instance, I don't believe they will. I think the Colts will win, push on 8-6, and it will give the Bills a squeak of a chance to win the division. I think this game will come down to who probably potentially might have the ball last, but I think it's a high scoring one. I think the Colts just find a way to win.
I was trying to get my rave horn in time.
I should have told you in advance.
It's all good. You know what? I like this because we're live. We're getting the picks in, and I appreciate the fact you're picking the Colts there. Mark's picking the Patriots. Yay! No surprise there.
Shock horror. Shock
horror. I'm really gutted for Mark because he must be torn at the minute because the Bucks and the Patriots have chosen Germany as their international market. So I know it's hard for him at the minute. Thoughts with Mark. I'm only joking, Mark. Right.
That'll mean you'll see Mark there in lederhosen with
half and
a
half.
pint in each hand.
Half and half. The half and half, like the O'Neill shirts, like the half. Anyway,
he'll be eating a lot of sausages. Let's put it like that. The man that makes you hungry just by looking at him.
Bratwurst.
I don't think he'll get lederhosen that'll come down to his knees. He's so tall as well. So looking forward to seeing Mark in Germany for the Patriots versus the Bucks. It's going to be fantastic.
Disclaimer: we have no idea what the games will be, etc., etc. Who knows? Patriots 9-4, Colts 7-6. I'm buzzing for this game. I land in Washington at 7:05. This game kicks off at
8:20.
8, straight in the Uber. It's 9 minutes from where I'm staying. Straight to a sports bar, in getting some food. Drop your comments below where I should go. I don't know. I'll try and live tweet it because I know we do such a good job of live tweeting stuff overnight, boys. This game is intriguing. The Colts are 7-6, but lads, seriously, they lost their first 3 games, albeit, well, one of them was close against the Rams in Indy. Now, look at some of these games that they were playing at home. The Rams game, they lose it by 3 points in Indy. They beat the Texans in Indy. They actually had a really, really long road stretch as well. That Titans game that they lost 34-31 in overtime, they should not have lost that game. They shouldn't have. The way they started that game, the way that Frank Reich started that game with them, they shouldn't have lost that game. Offensively, they were really, really good, but still lost. Carson Wentz lost the game for them. I'm not going to count the Jaguars game in week 10 because the Jaguars, for me,
yeah.
I mean, you could start a franchise called the Donachby Dingoes and they'd probably do as good a job with them as at the minute. The Bills, beating the Bills 41-15 at home. Away as well. Tampa Bay losing by a touchdown at home. Where am I going with this? I'm going with it here. They've got the offensive talent. They've got Jonathan Taylor. Carson Wentz, boys. I'm picking Carson Wentz to have a good game on Saturday night. But I think the defense is going to get them over the line. I'm not sure if Kwity Paye is going to play. I think I've read this week that he might have been knocked, but they've got seriously considerable talent on all levels. DeForest Buckner, as I say, Kwity Paye, Darius Leonard as well. And I realize I'm talking about the Colts here. Which Patriots are going to show up? Is it going to be the Patriots where Mac hands it off? Is it going to be the Patriots where Mac throws it 5 to 10 to 7 to 12 yards with consistent, albeit positive passes? Or will it be a Patriots team that goes out and tries to dominate the game from the start? What I think is going to happen is it's a primetime game. America's watching, Europe's watching, the world's watching. I think Bill's going to go in with a game plan, but I think Frank Reich is going to go in and the offense is going to wreck them, beat them up. I think it'll be a close game, though. I'm taking the Colts in an upset win, 27-24. And I'm really excited for this game. Hopefully that happens. And if that does happen, I'll be gutted not to get to it. It was €375 to fly to Indianapolis. So no, I'm not doing it. Good. 2-2.
Yeah.
2-2. I think that tells you how tight this game could be. They're very, I will say,
tighter than the Calvin Man, Colin. Tighter than the Calvin Man.
There are very few teams that beat up on Bill Belichick teams. The Colts can absolutely win, and I can definitely see a path to that. You know, you've outlined and Brian outlined some of the players they have, and Pittman has really come on and made himself a kind of a great weapon there for Wentz. That's what makes this kind of such an intriguing battle. But if the Patriots do get this win, you would definitely say their stranglehold on the East will tighten, and I'm sure that Bill would like to get that sorted before the Bills roll into town.
It's a significant weekend in the AFC. I mean, you look at the weekends that have gone by. I don't think we can look at a weekend where so many big games. You know, we touched on it with BJ on the show on Thursday night, around the fact that the Chiefs are playing Thursday night, and in a way they have the leg up. You know, or the Chargers, and depends, as you say, we're recording no wins, so we're not entirely sure who wins that game. But whoever wins that game will sit back, relax, and look at this game of the weekend. And obviously, then on Sunday you have the Titans, who was to beat the Jags last week, didn't look overly impressive. They only put 20 points up. It's clear now that you can see the offense is missing Derrick Henry badly, and they're going to go up against the Steelers, who the Steelers are the Steelers. Even when they're struggling, like 2 weeks ago, we didn't think they'd beat the Ravens. They did. They came back last week in against the Vikings when they were 29-0 down with 6 minutes to go in the third quarter. So they'll certainly give the Titans a game. It's a big weekend in terms of who goes and secures that number 1 seed.
Mac Jones, statistically, when he's on the road, apart from the Houston, I had it in my head, boys. He hasn't got over 250 yards passing on the road this season. Now, just to confirm I've got that correct, he hasn't.
He'll be on the under, so.
Beyond the under, boys, if you are watching, thanks to Matchbook as well, put that in a different segment as well this week on the Sunday show. He hasn't. But I'm looking at that Tampa Bay game. I'm looking at the Dallas game they had within 2 weeks of each other. 31 for 40 in terms of completions in Tampa Bay, 15-21 against Dallas, albeit the Patriots lost both games and they have came back. 275 yards passing against Tampa Bay, albeit they lost. You'd be looking, he'd need to try and replicate that. And in a game, Brian, where the atmosphere in Lucas Oil will be electric and
yeah, absolutely. Saturday night game. I was looking through because this game really fascinates me, and I think everybody's really looking forward to seeing it. And I was looking through the games today in terms of when the Patriots have gone up against explosive offenses this season. And the only game I know with the Bucs game, and I spoke to Colin about this. Colin made a very valid point. You could kind of dismiss that Bucs game because of the enormity of the situation with Brady coming back to Foxborough and everything that played into that game. But when the last time I think they played against a team who was a really good offense this season, it was the Cowboys in Foxborough, and the Cowboys put up a lot of points on them. The other games, I know the Bills are good, and we might see that from the next week in Foxborough, but that game 2 weeks ago is a write-off, in terms of how the game played out. So it'll be interesting. Once the defense has been really good, we know it's got better this season. It'll be interesting to see how they can play against a really strong offense that the Colts have.
Any final words, Colin? Are you speechless after talking to Paudie and just having a great show?
Well, I'm, to be honest, at the time we're recording this on Wednesday night, I'm wondering, am I going to wake up on Thursday morning and is Urban Meyer going to be in a job? Because I would imagine that as we speak, the Jaguars lawyers are going through that contract to see and our viewers will know at that point. But if the clock is ticking on anyone's NFL career, it is Urban Meyer's.
Absolutely. Let's see what happens there. A couple of great games on Saturday. Hope you enjoy the games. Our start times this weekend are a bit stagnated. We're going out with our week 15 show a bit earlier on the Saturday, so it should be all online now. You can listen to it on the podcast. Thanks to Trust Gaming, thanks to Matchbook, and thanks to Paudie for coming on. Brian, good to have a couple of all-stars in Kerry there, and great to have Paudie on as well. I'm sure we'll get a few more dubs on eventually this year for Dublin GA, but appreciate that there, boys. Enjoy the games on Saturday, and
get a few dubs on and we'll tell them to bring their medals and we can hang them over their shoulders and they'll all look like Mr. T, but it'll be great.
On that note, enjoy the games, folks. See you later.
Good night.